back to ISTQB Foundation Level Certification Preparation. So now let's look at chapter 3, which is basically addressing static testing. So in static testing chapter, we will concentrate on static testing basics and review process which we follow. So first, let's look at static testing basics. What do you mean by static testing? Static testing is in static testing, in contrast to dynamic testing, which generally requires execution of software being tested. In static testing, we rely on manual examination, basically, which can be reviewed, or we make use of tools static analyzers. Okay. So it can be a linked tool or any other tool that you may use for static analysis. So work product is subjected to static analysis, or we do a review. So generally this kind of testing is very common in aviation industry, medical softwares, nuclear softwares, and things like that, which are mission critical in nature. So generally, what happens is in such mission critical softwares, before even you go for dynamic testing, which is actual execution of the software, generally you subject the artifacts to static testing. Okay. Now let's look at 3.1.1 work products that can be examined by static testing. What all we can examine, like what all artifacts we can examine using static testing. Basically, it is with spectrum of artifacts. It can be specification, including business requirements, functional requirements, or security requirements. Like you can subject business requirement, functional requirement, security requirement specifications to static testing. Like if there are any ethics or user stories involved, they can be subjected to static testing. Generally, if there are architecture and design documents, they can be subjected. Code, yes, of course, you can subject code to static testing. And even most important, test wares, right? Test wares are artifacts related to testing, such as test plan, test case, okay, and automated test scripts. Even they can be subjected to static testing. If there are any user guides, web pages, wireframes of web pages, okay, and models, if there are any models involved, such as activity diagram, they can be subjected to static testing. Now, next is 3.1.2. What are the benefits of static testing? Why we go for static testing? Early detection is always better, right? So early detection of defects even before dynamic testing is a very good concept. So if there are any faults in requirement, design, or specifications, or if any backlog refinement is needed, they can be found during static testing. And then other benefits include detection cost is low, okay, because it's like a shift left, you find it early. So detection of bugs or defects is lower in cost. Fixing cost is also lower. Yeah. Why? Because you don't need a confirmation testing or regression testing. So they can be avoided altogether. So fixing cost, what we talked about, during static testing, that results in lower cost of poor quality (COPQ), and uh, detecting and correcting defects is more efficient. Okay. And the defects which are not easy to find during dynamic testing can be caught in static testing. And if there are any inconsistencies, ambiguities, contradictions, omissions, or inaccuracies in requirements, they can be caught very easily. And all these results in improved productivity, and which in turn results in reducing the testing costs and time, and overall it results in a reduction of cost of quality (COQ). Okay. And next, let's look at differences between static and dynamic testing. Okay. So, although static and dynamic testing may have same objective, right? What is the objective of static and dynamic testing? Objective of static and dynamic testing is assessment of the quality of work, right? Like you evaluate where we stand with respect to quality of the product, and then identifying defects early. So if there are any defects, you find them early, and compared to dynamic testing, typical defects that are easier to find and fix through static testing. So this we have been reiterating time and again, easier to find and fix. So, what all we can, check in static testing requirements. In requirements, as we were mentioning, if there are any inconsistencies, ambiguities, contradictions, omissions, inaccuracies, those can be found. Design defects, if any inefficient algorithm is being used, or if we are making use of incorrect database structure, if there is a high coupling, right, between the entities, so such design defects can be found. And coding defects, if there are any unreachable or duplicate codes that can be found during static testing. So yeah, like nowadays, the other day I was exploring PyCharm. PyCharm also has this kind of functionality. If there is unreachable code or duplicate code, it highlights. But yeah, generally, review is also equally efficient in finding the coding defects and deviation from standards, right? Like if we are not adhering to coding guidelines is generally mm, in organizations, generally over a period of time, people would have noticed what is good practice and they would have come up with coding guidelines. And if there is any deviation from standards, that can be caught. And incorrect interface specifications, right? If we are making two entities to talk to each other, and if they are using different measurement units, such things can be caught. And security vulnerabilities, if there are any security vulnerabilities, they can be caught. And gaps in test basis traceability. If there is any traceability gap, meaning if the traceability is not mentioned from test basis to the test cases, that can be caught. Right now, that is in essence static testing basics. So it is very theoretical in nature. But yeah, thank you for attending 3.1. Let's meet in 3.2.